Have you ever wondered who would win in an epic battle between a werewolf and Dracula? Today, we are going to dive even deeper into the matchup between Count Dracula and the werewolf. We'll analyze their origins, powers, and weaknesses in more detail to get a clearer picture of how a battle might go down. There's a lot more to unpack with these two immortal monsters, so let's get right back into it. First up is Count Dracula. As we covered briefly last time, Dracula was created by author Bram Stoker in his 1897 Gothic novel Dracula. The character was loosely based on Vlad the Impaler, the notoriously brutal 15th century ruler of Wallachia. In Stoker's book, Dracula is portrayed as a charming but evil vampire living in a decaying castle in the Carpathian Mountains. Some key traits established in the original novel include Dracula's ability to shapeshift, control animals, and turn into a fine mist. He has superhuman strength and speed, but also weaknesses like sunlight, religious symbols, and wooden stakes. Dracula became the quintessential vampire character, representing a blend of aristocratic charm and primitive horror. He embodies the sensual yet dangerous appeal of the vampire myth. Dracula is a predator who can lure in victims with his hypnotic gaze and silver tongue. Beyond the original novel, Dracula's powers and weaknesses have been interpreted in many different ways across films, television, comics, and more. He's been depicted as everything from a romantic anti-hero to a total primordial monster. Some common powers granted to Dracula include immortality, telepathy, mind control, telekinesis, shape-shifting beyond just a bat, and even weather manipulation. His command over animals has ranged from controlling wolves or rats to summoning swarms of creatures to do his bidding. Dracula's weaknesses have also varied over time. Some versions are immune to religious artifacts like crosses and holy water. But Dracula is almost always vulnerable to sunlight, which burns and eventually disintegrates him. Wooden stakes are also widely accepted as being able to stop his regeneration and kill him. And Dracula, of course, needs to drink blood to maintain his vitality and powers. So, Dracula is often depicted as an aristocratic immortal with an array of magical powers coupled with key supernatural weaknesses. His physical abilities allow him to overpower humans and animals easily, and his hypnotic allure gives him the ability to manipulate people and seduce his prey. Now let's look at the werewolf, another classic movie monster with roots in ancient folklore. Werewolves are humans who transform into wolves or wolf-like beasts under certain conditions, usually the full moon. The werewolf myth likely originated from stories of people transforming into animals, which can be found in the traditions of many cultures worldwide. However, the concept of the werewolf solidified in Europe during the Middle Ages and Renaissance period. Modern accounts of werewolves emerged in the 18th and 19th centuries, including horrific tales of feral wolfmen stalking the European countryside. These established the werewolf's savagery and uncontrollable aggression during transformation under the full moon. Like Dracula, the werewolf's traits and abilities have been adapted in many ways over the years. Typical werewolf lore gives them heightened strength, speed, senses, and rage in wolf form. They are difficult to injure or kill with conventional weapons. In many stories, a werewolf bite can spread the werewolf curse and turn victims into werewolves themselves. Silver weapons are the most common werewolf weakness in pop culture. The beast is supposedly hurt or killed if struck with silver bullets or blades. Wolfsbane is another traditional bane of werewolves across various folklore. Werewolves are only transformed during the full moon, leaving them as vulnerable as humans otherwise. Unlike vampires, werewolves seem far less susceptible to religious artifacts like crosses or holy water, and sunlight does not have any particular effect on them. In almost all cases, the transformed werewolf has no control over its actions, driven by pure animal rage to kill. So in summary, the werewolf is a rampaging tank that trades intelligence for raw primal power under the full moon. Armed with claw and fang, it is an apex predator well-equipped to rip enemies apart limb from limb. Alright, now that we've covered their backgrounds and abilities in more detail, let's dive back into the debate. Who would win in a fight between Count Dracula and a werewolf? Based on their typical powers and tactics, we can envision how a battle might unfold. As soon as the moon rises and the werewolf transforms, it will immediately go on the hunt for prey with its enhanced senses. Dracula will likely attempt to mesmerize and control any animals or humans in the area to use as distractions or cannon fodder. Once the werewolf gets Dracula's scent, it will pursue relentlessly, barging through any obstacle in the way. To escape, Dracula may take the form of a bat or fine mist to stay mobile and evade the werewolf's jaws. Dracula will also try to keep plenty of objects in distance between them to avoid direct combat. Dracula may attempt tricks like animating the dead, summoning a pack of wolves, or even using the weather to his advantage, calling down fog or storms to disorient the werewolf. But the werewolf's raw primal power and senses will likely overcome any minions or obstacles Dracula puts in its path. The werewolf seems largely immune to Dracula's psychic powers as well. A raving beast consumed by rage and hunting instincts will be hard to mentally manipulate. And once the werewolf closes the gap, it negates Dracula's advantages in range and maneuverability. At close quarters, the werewolf can use its hulking frame and super strength to physically overpower Dracula. Its jaws and claws will shred through even Dracula's supernatural durability. Dracula's regeneration may allow him to recover from even the most grievous wounds, but he would have a very difficult time escaping the werewolf's onslaught once pinned. To win, Dracula's best chance is to exploit the werewolf's weaknesses rather than go blow for blow. If he can acquire silver weapons, either before or during the battle, he could injure the werewolf enough to at least drive it away or buy time until the sun rises. Dracula also may attempt to lead the werewolf into traps and confined spaces where the limited mobility works in the vampire's favor. And if Dracula can stay elusive and evade confrontation, he could potentially outlast the werewolf until dawn. But this requires near-perfect execution. Based on their typical portrayals, I think the werewolf has the overall advantage here due to its brute strength and speed. At close range, there is little Dracula can do to defend himself, and the werewolf seems resistant or immune to many of Dracula's magical tricks. However, Dracula's intelligence and unnatural powers give him a real shot at devising a winning strategy. He will no doubt inflict some grievous wounds on the werewolf even in defeat. I don't think it would be an easy victory for the werewolf by any means. In the end, this pairing produces an awesome dynamic: brains versus brawn, aristocrat versus wild beast, immortal magician versus raw primal fury. The cunning and preparation of Dracula make for an exciting contrast with the werewolf's savage instinct. And there are so many ways the tides could turn based on the exact adaptations of vampire and werewolf lore. But in a straightforward physical brawl, I think the werewolf has the edge more times than not once it closes into melee range. So, the savage fury and physical power of the werewolf should ultimately overwhelm Dracula in most cases unless the vampire can exploit very specific weaknesses. But Dracula's vast array of supernatural powers could shift the tide in his favor if leveraged creatively. It would be very close either way. Alright, those are thoughts on Dracula versus the werewolf. We are really curious to hear your take on this iconic matchup. Who do you think emerges victorious and why? Let me know your opinions in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more fictional character battles. Thanks again for watching, everyone.